Hey folks, Jonathan here. Up underneath of the 57 International Rat Rod, the one-day rat rod build that we had done. Uh, when I bought that 91 model Chevrolet and took it's the one we used and took the cab and stuff off of them, set this body on this frame. We had some trouble with the starter on it. When I got it, there was nothing on it, no starter. The headers was on it, but nothing was hooked up on the engine. We hooked it up and got it running. But there was an issue with the block, and I think this is one of the reasons I bought this truck so cheap and was able to get it. I'll try to get where you can see it, but the starter bolts. You can see the corner of the blocks broke off on this one. And I've seen this before. This is nothing new. And I don't know if might be able to zoom in a little bit and see it a little bit better here. Try to get some light on it for you. You can see that's the corner of the block broke, and the other hole, the other bolt, somebody had retapped it, drilled it and retapped it out, or maybe just tapped it out and didn't re-drill it, but out with a metric thread. So we have definitely got a problem with that. Now, I've seen this a lot of times before on Chevrolets. You know, there's a small bracket on the other end of the starter that bolts to the block, and you're really supposed to use that. Nobody does, and I don't know if one gets loose or what, but you know, this is just, like I said, it's a common problem. And we fixed one the other day, and it was a deal. The guy was in a hurry and put a stud up in and actually ground out part of the section and welded it in, and just as a temporary fix to, you know, where it was actually a work truck where he could get it started and running. But this one here I wanted to fix right, and with having that bolt hole messed up, and, you know, them bolts are knurled to keep it centered right, and you know, there's, to me personally, I mean, more work involved than what you would want to do, and you're dealing with casts. This is going to be a pretty decent fix, and I'm going to climb out from under the truck here, and I'll show you what we're gonna put on this thing. You can see we put a new starter on it, and I've got a 3-bolt nose cone that starter will fit on, so I might still use the new starter, just change the nose on it. And but anybody that runs into this problem right here, you know, the one way we could have fixed it was run the old cast iron bell housing that had the 3-bolt starter that bolted to it, and then, you know, that would do away with having to use these bolts. But I will show you another fix for this. A lot of people don't realize. Okay folks, here's your kit. Now this is actually not a repair kit. This is a kit for a 55, 56 Chevrolet. And what the deal is the 265 Chevrolet engines came with a, you know, either a 3-speed or they came with a 2-speed Power Glide, and the Power Glide was had a cast iron housing, and the starter actually bolted to it just like this, and used this style starter, which is a regular old 3-bolt. And if you want to update your 55, 56 Chevrolet with a 350 turbo, you know, 400 turbo or 700 R4 or anything like that, 200 metric, there was no place in the block to bolt this style starter. And, you know, it was there, it was not drilled and tapped or anything like that. So the only way to update it is to use this update kit. Now, the good thing about this update kit, they don't sell it as a repair kit, but it actually can be used as a repair kit. And the only thing is you've got to have this 3-bolt starter, which is really simple to find. These starters here, they used all the way up through the 70s on like 2-ton trucks. But the old 3-speeds, a lot of the old automatics actually used this style starter. And what we're going to do is, I don't even know if this one's any good or not, and I see the bolts out of the solenoid, I'm not sure why, but we're just going to use this nose and actually put it on this starter. This is a new starter that, well, CarQuest, but you know, it'll interchange with no problem at all, and that way we'll have all our new stuff with the old 3-bolt pattern. And you know, it just slides in and goes on real simple. They give you studs. You can bottom these studs out, fine thread on one end, coarse on the other, and so that's pretty simple. And when you're spacing it out a 1/4 inch from the bell housing, you know, you've got to use these small spacers, which in between your torque converter and your flywheel, that way it'll all match up, and it actually spaces it out a 1/4 inch. And pretty simple, nothing to it. But I mean, you know, you can fix a block like, you know, like we've got here, but if you go to the store and you shut the engine off and you go to start it back up and the starter starts grinding or kicks away or falls off, breaks a bolt, something like that, you know, that's sort of sucks. You know, if you want to fix it at a, you know, permanent and not have any trouble with it, this is the way to do it. And you know, it's a lot easier to buy one than it is to make one. This kit, I think this kit was $122. And like I said, just get one for 55, 56 Chevrolet update kit. And one thing about it, you got to use the 168 Q-tooth flywheel. And you know, they only made 2 sizes, which was a 153, 168, and just about everything uses a 168 anyway. You know, all the manual transmission. I've never seen a small one. I don't think they make a small one for the manual, but pretty simple. You know, not much to it. They give you the longer bolts for your bell housing, and I guess 1/4 inch longer to make up for your plate, and lock washers. Your bolts for your torque converter are the longer ones, that way you can add your spacers in. Nothing to it, simple. You don't have to pull the transmission all the way out, just slide it back far enough, you know, you don't have to drop it down. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Go ahead and get this starter swapped over, and we will see if we can't get something rolling here. And maybe this will be should be a permanent fix to where we don't have to mess with it. Alright, show you more in a minute. Well, you didn't think I was dumb enough to buy 2, right? I might need another one. Okay folks, it's a tight spot to do any filming and stuff, but we did get it in. One thing I don't like, you know, they've clocked these at a certain direction so the solenoid would be in the right spot, but this is pretty close. I didn't grind any of the block away or anything, but we're going to put the stud in, and then what we'll do is we'll take the nose cone of the starter and we're going to put it up in there before we put it on the starter. That way we can get a good idea. And the only other thing I noticed so far about the kit, the bolts that came with it for the bell housing are the same length as the bolts I took out of the bell housing, so I didn't use them. Definitely don't want to you know, go shorter after you've added a 1/4 inch plate, so I put longer bolts in it. And everything else looks fine, looks like it's gonna work out good. We'll see how much clearance issues we got with the starter up there. And then torque converter bolts, they gave bolts and nuts, which is the old style. These are the ones that bolt in. This is 700R4, and they got metric threads, so I may have to pick up a longer bolts for that, which is not a problem either, but I don't keep a lot of metric bolts, so I may have to go buy them. But we will get the nose cone off that starter and see how it's going to fit up in there. I'll get them studs back in it, show you more. Okay, we got the starter apart. One thing I forgot to mention that I knew about, because it's in the directions, is one of these holes, which is this one, is threaded. The bolt comes through from the other side of the bell housing, so this hole has to be drilled out. And you know, I guess 3/8, or maybe just go, you know, a few thousandths over the 3/8. And I may check that bushing in the end of this, and I don't know. It looks like it might either be missing or wore out. I know all the pieces on the end, there's a clip and a washer, you know, that's special made, but goes on here. And it's not really a snap ring, but it goes in and snaps in, and then it slides over it. But it was missing off of it, and the Bendix just basically slid right off. But I'll drill that hole out, and we'll use this for testing anyway. And then I'll check that bushing, and if I need to, I can change out, put a bushing in it, or you know, change out to a different end. I've got other ones. Show you more. Okay folks, here's something you gotta watch. You can see this bushing here is in good shape. Nice and round, no problem. You see this one here is oblong, wore out. I don't think there's actually a bushing in it, it ate it out. So I actually went back and grabbed another old starter I had and pulled it down. We're just gonna get this cleaned up. And, seems to fit up in fine. I don't think any clearance is going to have to be done. I thought they had clocked it a little too far, but I think they actually done a good job. This flat right here actually goes up against the bottom of the block where the starter would normally bolt on, you know, the old or the new style starter. So I'll clean this up and get it on our new starter and get them studs in and see if we can get this thing on where we can get her started up. Show you more. battery up now. Been sitting out here a little while. You can see the distance looks like it's kind of close right here. That's actually normal, and if it had been moved up, it would have been the same distance from the block. So, you know, we just moved it back a 1/4 inch, so that's not a problem. Didn't run into anything. It went right on, no problem. And top bolt was kind of hard to get to. I had to cut a wrench to short one to get in there easy. I think everything's going to work out fine. We're going to go ahead and see if it'll start up, and hopefully no grinding or making any noise. I don't have my torque converter bolts in yet, but I've got the torque converter slid back all the way, and that way it won't interfere. And because I've got to go get a little bit longer bolts than metric bolts, but we'll go ahead and start it up anyway. It's not a big deal as long as it's pushed back where it's not hitting anything. And so let's fire it up. That's it. Bye.